I don't think you know anything about Harry Styles. Our communities.
Gonna talk about it again, so I told y'all so.
Our culture.
I am a Sam Smith.
Our stories.
It's also not a requirement for you to agree. Our opinions.
This is a Culture Report.
Hi, and welcome to this week's Culture Report. So let's go ahead and hop into it.
So in honor of Women's History Month, me and Laura headed out to MSU Denver to talk to some students about some issues women face today. Everything from having kids, pay gap, and the important women in their lives. But on this week's episode, we want to talk more about social media and the impacts it has on a woman's self-esteem and mental health. Let's take a look at what some of the girls said about it.
Absolutely. I feel like social media has kind of convinced women that they have to present themselves in a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, and talk a certain way. And it almost feels as though sometimes I have to conform to that, otherwise I'm not a woman, you know? And it's been hard breaking out of that, especially becoming a woman and like going out into the world on my own. But I feel like I've come to myself and realized like I'm a woman no matter what I look like or how I talk or how I act.
I feel like with TikTok being a lot more popular and Instagram, it is very setting high standards for women, and especially if it's coming from a man's opinion and perspective of what a woman should look like. But I feel like women are able to very empower one another, and despite any like negative factors that they may look into themselves, but they're able to overcome those obstacles.
I'd like to think of it as instead of just a male thing, it's society based. So we like to think of women supporting women, but there's also sometimes women that degrade women, and because they have been impacted by what society sets as their standard. And social media like TikTok sets the body standard of how you view yourself and how other people view you.
And as I mentioned before, we will continue these conversations and much more throughout the month of March, but I want to continue this conversation about social media. Obviously, I know me and Laura, we kind of talked about it. Social media does have an impact on us. I mean, we're on our phones all the time, you know, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, so it definitely has an impact on me. I wonder, what about you, Laura?
I think, for me speaking, you already, or people in general, already struggle with the way they look, and then seeing social media have such a impact on the beauty standards set for us now, it does have an impact. It can have a negative impact.
Definitely.
I think me and you talked, sorry Ash, we talked a little bit earlier about the way people look also affects you, but when people are very successful in their career and you see them posting about that, you're also like, oh my gosh, I need to be where they're at. So that's another thing social media I feel like also does to us.
Yeah, it also impacts gay men, because I feel like a lot of gay men have body dysmorphia. I wasn't looking at you, Jamal.
It impacts everybody.
They have a lot of body dysmorphia because the image that's put out there of gay men, and now it's all these gay men on social media are trying to obtain this very unrealistic body type. So I definitely see that for me. So that's why I try to limit my social media use.
Yeah, or limit or curate what you see.
Right.
I make sure I follow people that look like me or that aren't pushing these weird ideologies and things like that. And it's also important to remember, everything on social media is not real, because I will post some good food one day and some behind the scenes one day, and then
can't even cook.
So don't listen. Don't trust social media.
Well, do you guys feel like you guys felt like that your mental health has just declined because of social media at all?
I think if you're looking constantly at negative content, it will have an effect, on you. Social media can be positive. It can help you launch a business. There's ways to use it the right way. But if you go down the rabbit hole, you start watching stuff, and all of a sudden you've spent 2 hours on it, that's when it becomes a problem.
But it doesn't even have to be negative. It could be positive, body affirming things. But if you're following this trend of body influencers or people that are pushing a certain body standards, that could still have a negative impact on how you view your own body image.
Yeah, especially if they're saying oh, I'm so healthy, this is healthy, and they're skinny or toned, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm bigger, I'm fat, but I'm not
doing
healthy.
the same thing. And
I'm not doing the same things, especially. So that's why I say, follow people that look like you, that have a similar journey as you.
But I feel like sometimes it can be hard to not compare yourself to these people that you see on social media. That's something I've dealt with. I have a hard time not comparing myself to other
Especially
people.
when it comes to accomplishments, because everybody's journey is different, especially when you see someone the same age as you, like with a job that you want. You're like, man, like, what am I doing with my life? Because I see some of these people, some of these actors, some of these people on TV, and I'm like, I'm 26, the clock is ticking. But like, their journey is not my journey. I'll get there whenever it's time for me to get there.
That's so true.
Or they're on vacation, and you're like, do these people not work all the time? They're always on vacation.
I agree with
or
that.
am I just like, not able to do those things? Yeah.
And I also want to talk, there's a new TikTok filter out there, It's called Bald Beauty, or I think it's called Bald
Beauty.
I'm sorry.
Bald glamour.
Bald glamour. And it applies makeup and sculptures your face and all that. You can see our video right here. How did you guys feel when we put that filter on us?
I didn't change very much.
You guys are just fine as you are.
I don't know. Like I agree with Jamal. Like when I watched it and when we did the video, I didn't see like a difference
Between
for me
you
and
guys,
Jamal. But I feel like it was aimed at like women for some
weird,
reason.
yeah.
Because when y'all did it, it was like totally different. Had all this makeup on you. It did something to your jawline.
Yeah, but it's almost like, is that what we're expected to look like?
Right.
Does it make like people that maybe don't wear that much makeup at all like want to buy more? I mean, it's
But it's stuff
scary.
like that that will try to that will end up changing, especially like a child or a teen's self-image of themselves. Like, I think that could be a little bit dangerous.
Especially if they're like posting that all the time
Right.
Yeah.
to social media. So I don't even know if the people that are on social media know what those people actually look like,
A little anti-black too, because every time I use those filters, which I don't anymore, I swore off the filters, we don't do them anymore. But they always like slim down my nose, and I'm like, let's not do that. I got a nice big nose. I like it. It's giving fashion. It's giving high fashion. I don't know, but yeah, they absolutely like slim certain features. I'm like, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Kind of scary, yeah.
Stop that.
All right, and speaking of body image, after a 4-year hiatus, the Victoria's Secret fashion show will be back this fall. The show was originally canceled in 2019 because they wanted to evolve their marketing. This was at the same time the company received backlash for not including models of all sizes and background. Since then, the company has revamped its image. They've added diverse ambassadors, and they've also included women of all sizes. But the company is still getting a lot of backlash. Lizzo took to Twitter to criticize the news of the fashion show, saying, in part, this is a win for inclusivity's sake. But if brands start doing this only because they've received backlash, then what happens when the trend changes again? So there's a lot of, different opinions on the fashion show coming back. Did you guys watch it before?
No, I didn't. Before, I think, I would take I more so watched it when it was like who was performing.
Yeah.
They would have performances doing it. But I think ever since Savage by Rihanna came out and she did that line and she did it from the beginning as an inclusive brand, I think it just demolished or like made Victoria's Secret's impact irrelevant to me.
And that 2019 was when Rihanna started doing all that, and that's when they canceled the show. So
There's a hole in the market.
You're ready,
problem.
take the opportunity and jump in, and why not? Make
But
it
this
work.
reads inauthentic to me. Like I don't know what the right answer is, but it reads inauthentic.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm like, you've been doing this for decades now. Like all of a sudden, and it took you 4 years to, what they say they were doing?
they're evolving their marketing.
Girl, what? Come on now. Like, it took you this long, 4 decades to be body positive?
I think it's
Tell
because of
women
the
that
backlash, because it took everyone on social media and saying, why aren't you including everyone else? And all these other brands are doing it.
And I looked into it because I was like, okay, why did they continue to do this for so many years? I was like, because there was that song, that TikTok song by Jax, I think called Victoria's Secret, and she's like, oh, the secret, it was made up by a dude, which was true. But I was like, so did they not have any female CEOs that were like, no, this isn't right? No, they've had plenty of female CEOs. They have one right now. So
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they think skinny sells.
It does. Well,
yeah.
it shows that it sells. They've been on top of the game for decades.
We're in a different age and time, though. Like,
Things are changing. I haven't been in their stores lately, but every time I went in, like even their mannequins, they're all like made for, all the clothes, all the lingerie is made for thinner looking girls. So
I feel like there's plenty of other brands that sell more inclusive
yeah.
inclusive clothes. Why shop at Victoria's Secret if
Yeah.
what's the point if they're not going to be inclusive? Don't shop there.
In a brand like Rihanna's, we don't have to question authenticness of it, because we seen it from the beginning come out as
Yeah.
being inclusive, and this brand had 4 years and they came up with this.
Same with Fenty Beauty, came out the gate with 40 shades for the dark skin
Right,
girls.
Love it.
We wish them luck, but whatever.
Yeah, silver lining. Hopefully, even if it is just for like, you know, aesthetics or whatever, just to follow the trend. At least teens, when they go into the store, maybe they'll see somebody that looks like them. So hopefully that'll have an impact. Because I know when I used to walk into Abercrombie and wherever else, and I was like, I don't look like that. Let me So that's what we're hoping.
Good luck to them.
Good luck to them, child. All right, to celebrate International Women's Day, Olympic champions Simone Biles, Michaela Schifrin, and Missy Franklin got together to discuss mental health and the impact criticism on social media can have. Take a listen.
You don't understand how hurtful it is already to feel like I failed myself. Then you have the weight of the world and everybody telling you you failed and all of this stuff. So I just didn't want her to feel alone.
There's kids out there who are facing something probably far greater and far more challenging, and they're far more isolated. And it's kind of like saying, this exists for all of us, and you can choose, like, you can kind of choose where you put your energy and where you, what you listen to a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important that they're talking about it, because it shows, like, even though they're so famous and rich, they still go through those same things. And they have to tell themselves, like, okay, I'm going to curate what I want to, like, focus my attention on. I'm not going to focus my attention on the negative. I'm pretty sure there's millions of people supporting them, rooting them on every day. And I feel like that's a lesson that anybody can learn.
Historically, the stigma surrounding mental health in the Black community has prevented Black people from seeking treatment. But sisters and founders of the Count and Joy Network are working to change that. Stacey Potts and Jocelyn Ford Keel are using their foundation to connect people with Black therapists. A connection they say is important. Let's see why.
One friend, a Black man, he said, I have a therapist. I don't think she believes me.
She doesn't get me.
And more people, a lot of Black women specifically started saying, I need a therapist, but I want another Black woman.
Being a therapist of color has allowed me to open the door that other people can come in and just get started right away without having to provide the historical context or explain their community or explain how current events are impacting them, because as a therapist, I feel it too.
Yeah, these two sisters are amazing. They're actually, they found a lot of people that were not looking for therapists because it wasn't a thing. There's all this stigma around it. So they took it upon themselves with their foundation to get more Black community connected with Black therapists.
That's so important, because in the Black community, mental health is like on the hush-hush. Like, nobody talks about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. Like, I remember years ago, I mentioned, like, going to therapy to my dad, and he's like, why you need therapy? Just talk to God. I'm like,
Say it louder.
But that's just such a taboo subject in the Black community. And I know, like, as an adult, like, therapy is a regular part of my schedule. I go every Friday. Shout out to my therapist. Keeps me together. But for me, it's all about perspective. It gets me, just like you would go to the doctor for, like, you got a cold, you broke your toe, your eye twitch, or something like that. Like, you would go to, like, therapy to, like, check on your mental health. Always gives me perspective on, like, life and issues. So it's very important, and I'm glad to see an organization specifically connecting Black people with Black therapists, because it's also very important to see yourselves in the person that you're talking to and the person that's counseling you and helping you. So it's very important.
Yeah, well, you save a lot of time too, because they understand, like, the context, right?
And it's expensive. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I already have somebody who knows what I'm talking about, I don't have to give the background. I'm saving a little money at that.
Exactly.
And I'm also, like, we're getting the ball rolling. I don't have time to explain to you, like everything, And I feel like I'm glad it's being talked about more within, like, the Black community specifically, because, like you said, they always say, you got God, you don't need therapy. And I think that, like, religion can be super beneficial for some people, but I feel like when the only option you're giving them is religion, and they're like, oh, this isn't working for me, I'm crazy.
Sometimes religion drives people to therapy.
So many rules, for sure.
Have y'all ever tried or went to therapy?
I have not.
I have.
Me and you talked about it. I have not.
I'm encouraging Alexia to try it.
Mine was more so for grief. When I lost my sister, that helped process it, but I still think we all need it, because there are things that, even Latinos too, we're always like, it's a rich people thing, therapy, you just don't talk about it, and it heals itself, but it honestly, does help you, talking it with somebody else.
That was the first time I went to therapy too. It was I went to therapy for grief because I had lost my best friend like years ago, and I just didn't know how to like process it, and it's just like we were very close, like brothers, and I just didn't have anyone to talk to. It was like my first year in New York, so that's what drew me to therapy, and I've been trying to stick with it ever since.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all for talking about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
we need to continue to talk about it so it's not something that's on the hush-hush. Like, it'll motivate more people to go do it. So I really appreciate both of y'all sharing that.
I share my therapist number with everybody.
I need it.
Well, we need it, Jamal.
All right, former Jackson State coach Deion Sanders is looking to bring HBCU culture to the University of Colorado Boulder. CU Boulder is a PWI, or a predominantly white institution with a black student population of less than 3%. Recently, they hired a Sanders as their new head coach. And now he's looking to bring some cultural diversity to one of the least diverse places. In a video posted on social media, Sanders met with the CU band director and the dance team coach, where they discuss the changes they would like to implement, namely the theme music played by the band. So let's take a look.
HBCUs is kind of traditional that the band kind of coincides. I know it's a difference, but it don't have to be. We like one big happy family. So we go as you guys go, and certain things we like, certain things we don't like. And I want to just get on the same page. And we're probably going to have a new theme song that I want you guys to get, and it's not hard. And I think you can knock it out of the park because it's kind of a band type song.
So social media is totally not feeling this decision. There was a lot of blowback once this video got posted. But what are y'all thoughts? Like, is that the right decision to bring HBCU culture to a PWI like CU Boulder?
Deion came from a HBCU, so I feel like it's natural that, of course, you're going to bring something, just to, one, make him more comfortable, and also he's like, maybe he's thinking like, oh, this worked for my team. So, because in an HBCU, like the football team really vibes with the band. Like it's like they work with each other. So maybe he's hoping like, oh, well, they haven't been too good in the past. Maybe they need to get with the band. So maybe this is all for the sake of the football team. Maybe this is how his secret sauce.
I don't know. I see both sides of it, but because like for myself, when I show up in any environment, I'm like going to bring my blackness and my black culture with me.
Right.
So I could see that, but I also think that like if you look at social media, it's just like they made a lot of valid points. I don't think, for a student population of less than 3%, like I do not want to see a white band mimicking black culture. Like that would kind of like
feels kind of offensive.
Yes.
It's like Cinco de Mayo. When people go in the sombreros and stuff like that, that's offensive. I feel that.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. College is supposed to be a time where we experiment, where we learn, we get exposed to a lot of things.
Okay.
Right? And so why not give students the opportunity to learn about it? Not just, you can watch a YouTube video and not really get what it means, but like maybe the art behind it, like all that goes behind it.
They need to either take a class or they need to be bused to HBCU to experience it.
You can't say that. You can't say that. I mean, I think the difference here is like a black man is leading the charge in this. If it was a white man saying, well, this is working for them,
but you can't replicate black culture at a PWI.
You can, but you can give them a little flavor.
Yeah, a little seasoning.
That's the point. There ain't gonna be no flavor if you ain't got no black band.
But you need representation, and I mean, he's bringing it. Why not teach him a little bit? I really did think. I mean, there's respectful ways of doing it.
I can't wait for this to go viral in a couple months, so I can tell you, nothing good can come from this. I think I think it's awesome that he's wanting to bring some of that black culture, though. But I just don't think, I just don't see how this is going to work.
There are black students on campus, a handful, as you said, 3%.
3%.
So maybe they'll feel seen, and that'll entice more black people to come to the college, to make it more diverse.
A very good example of this was Homecoming by Beyonce, when she did Coachella.
Finally saw it, loved it.
That was very much what HBCU culture, and I didn't go to one, but like even like our high school, my high school was black, Battle of the Bands was a thing, Homecoming was a thing, and it was very much what you saw in that Coachella performance by Beyonce. So imagine that at CU Boulder.
I
think it'll be lovely.
I think Deion will bring that.
It happens in a couple months. We're going to talk about it again, so I can tell y'all, I told y'all so.
It took a year, but Chris Rock is finally slapping back, and just in time to drum up some buzz for the Oscars this weekend. His new comedy special, Selective Outrage, is out right now on Netflix, and he absolutely did not keep Jada's name out of his mouth. The highlight of the show came toward the end when he clapped back at Will and Jada, saying he wasn't bullying her and that she was the one that started it. He also said that the slap had nothing to do with him. Instead, Will was just mad that his wife was sleeping with their son's friend. So, yikes. There's a lot to talk about, but first I just want to talk about, like, first of all, the title, Selective Outrage, what it is. So it's when, you know, people like to be outraged and get mad and cancel people, but they don't show the same energy towards other people. So some examples I was thinking of is Lizzo. Maybe she'll do something, she'll do a dance move, or she'll wear an outfit, and all of a sudden everyone's up and up, so revealing, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. But then J-Lo or Beyonce, actually, let me not put their names in the same sentence. Beyonce or Rihanna will wear something similar, and it's totally fine. It's clearly just fat phobia. Or let's say someone gets famous off of like using the AAVE or something, which is African American Vernacular English. Okay. But then other people build a career off of it and they get rich off it, and it's no issue. So yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I get that. I don't understand how the title implies to his special.
Oh, okay. In relation to the special, I believe he said that Will wasn't mad at him. This had nothing to do with him. Everybody was been throwing all this energy his way, calling him a punk, saying he was, you know, weak. And then as soon as Chris said something, he had his turn to say something. All of a sudden, he's getting slapped.
I don't know. I have a low tolerance for disrespect of black women or any woman of color, any women, period, but especially black women. And I think to know, or it's been out there that Jada struggles with alopecia. She has alopecia, which is why she shaved her hair, and which is something she struggles with. So to get on stage and make a joke and then get slapped for it, and then reference in the comedy special that he was taught not to fight in front of white people, but then use his whole special to go after them and kind of dig at them, to me kind of didn't sit right.
Well, Ashton, Chris Rock could not have known of Jada's hair condition. Just giving him the benefit of the doubt. I know when we talk of comedy, there's a very fine line where it becomes insulting. And to your point, yes, I know you shouldn't insult women. I get that. But then where do we draw a line where it becomes comedy? Like, I've seen George Lopez insult the Mexican culture a lot.
Yes.
But you have to also go at it like with the lighter heart, because it is comedy. So you're going into the show to see comedy. What else do you expect?
Was it comedy though? I watched it and I did not. I watched like 10 minutes and I did not find anything funny. Like,
I watched the whole
I just don't think he's funny.
I watched it.
But you're saying that he didn't know.
He may have not known.
But has he ever apologized?
He has not. That he has not done. That for sure I know, but at least from the very beginning. But another part of it too is that didn't even come up for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't know that she had it. Everybody was like, well, what is it? What is it? And that's when it became like.
But he knew enough to talk about like their marriage and their entanglement, even enough for him to say that Will is not mad at him.
Because that
really
went viral. Because that went viral.
Media coverage.
Yeah.
I would also say that her alopecia was very well talked about and covered. She mentioned it. There was a whole episode about it on the Red Table Talk. So I just like selective outrage. He selected what he wanted. I don't know. I'm not a fan of his.
I just think the whole situation was wrong. The fighting in front of this show. That could have been handled differently. And if, like you said, maybe backstage, handle that a little differently.
Absolutely, because black people, or I would say for myself, my black family, we were similarly taught not to fight in front of white people. So it's just like you handled that behind the scenes. So I would have had a conversation. Well, I would have let him know backstage, like, okay, like.
What was the logic behind that? Like, don't do it in front of white people. Like, what was that?
It's the perception in that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the perception. We don't want to.
Perpetuate that stereotype.
Perpetuate the stereotype.
Right.
Black men are seen as aggressive, dangerous, uneducated. So when we're out in public, we're like, okay, you have to represent our family correctly. And they want people to take us seriously. So they want us to have respect in society. So therefore, don't fight in front of white people. And white people specifically is because, they ran everything. When you were going in for a job interview, that's who you'd see.
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let's find out how they handle this next Oscars.
We'll see. I probably won't be watching though. All right, each and every week, we want to end our conversation with the good happening in and around our community. So this is the good news. President Biden presented Paris D. Davis, a Black Vietnam War veteran, with the Medal of Honor for his service in combat. The recognition comes almost 60 years after Davis rescued 2 fellow Americans during combat. The Medal of Honor is the nation's highest military award for valor.
And Puerto Rico has another historic first. Daniela Arroyo Gonzalez became the first transgender woman selected to compete in the next Miss Universe Puerto Rico pageant. The winner will go on to represent Puerto Rico in the Global Miss Universe pageant.
All right, and Haley Bailey gave her 4.1 million Instagram followers a sneak peek of the brand new version of the Little Mermaid doll. In the video, she says, "I am literally choking up because this means so much to me." The doll is inspired by the movie coming out this summer. This will be the first time a Black actor portrays Ariel.
And Zaya Wade killed it on the runway this week. She made her debut in Miu Miu's Fall Winter 2023 fashion show in Paris. Her parents, Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, were, of course, front row, rooting her on every step of the way. And all the love she got after the show was just the cherry on top. It was really beautiful. All right, thanks for joining us for this episode of The Culture Report. We'll be back to continue the conversation next Thursday, right here on 9 News Plus and 9news.com.